My thoughts are this is a knee-jerk reaction to a media frenzy yet again. And I think it's exactly the same as what happened in 1991 when the Pit Bull Terriers attacked the same number of people. It also attacked around 11 people and killed around 11 people. And yet again, they had a sudden media frenzy about these dogs, and the government acted very, very rashly and created this law that has unfortunately not been effective over this time. Afterwards, when they looked at the statistics of the dogs that were biting people before the law was brought in, they found that German Shepherds were more responsible than Pit Bull Terriers. And subsequently, when they looked at the 10 years following the DDA being brought about, they found that it hadn't impacted fatalities. Fatalities have gone up, as had the number of Pit Bull Terriers in existence, as had the bite statistics. I've also been appalled by the media and how they've used statistics from Facebook and from polls in The Guardian and quoted them as if they're scientific primary literature, which they're not. And when we look at the primary scientific literature, we see a completely different story being painted.
I mean, you say you're appalled by the media. You talk about knee-jerks and media frenzies. But what we're reporting today is a 52-year-old man who has been killed by a dog. And it's the dog, we think it's the dog next door. We think the two dogs that were being kept by a family living next door to this man and his very elderly mother, from what we understand, escaped into their house and garden, attacked his elderly mother with such savageness that he had to intervene in order to try to save his own elderly mother's life. And then the 52-year-old man lost his own life. Now, you tell me where there's a media frenzy in simply doing as I'm doing, which is regurgitating the bare facts. I've given no opinion. I haven't ramped it up. I haven't used a single adjective. Nobody can accuse me of having reported it in a tabloid manner. All I have given you is the barest possible repetition of the facts as we know them, without embroidery, opinion, conjecture, or anything else. How can that be a media frenzy, and how can that be in any way something that you would want to criticise?
Well, firstly, when we look back at the statistics and the studies that we have on this, there was a huge study of around 250 deaths by dogs, and they found that despite the fact that 90% of those were reported by the media as a specific breed, as is being done on this television programme, only 18% of those were actually identified as that breed in the end. And these dogs have not been identified as American XL bullies yet, have they? And so we shouldn't really be reporting on them as such because they haven't been identified. Identification of breed is incredibly complicated. I do it as an expert witness for law, and it's incredibly difficult to do. And it doesn't actually have much bearing. We know that strong muscular dogs are more capable of these things. We know that these tragedies sadly do occur. They always have done, and as poverty increases, they always increase in every country, across time, across space. Now, the Bully XL is just another breed that's become popularised since 2018. And so, yes, as a strong muscular breed, it is now responsible for more of those deaths. But when, again, we look statistically, we see that more people fall off their roof and die when they're doing DIY. But we're not really reporting on that, are we? We see that more people, significantly, I think dog deaths correspond to around 0.002% of people killed by people who are drunk driving, but we're not reporting those deaths, even though a lot of those are children, a lot of those are savages.
Well, hang on a minute. I mean, if you're accusing the media of a media frenzy, let me interrupt you to say drunk driving is against the law. If you're driving drunk and you cause an accident, you'll end up being imprisoned. If you fall off your own roof, then that's a hazard that you have entertained by climbing on the roof in the first place. But if next door's dog comes, jumps up onto your roof and pushes you off the roof, and that's why you die, it's a whole different ball game. No, but the minutiae of identifying specific breeds is definitely, as you quite rightly say, very technical. It's very complex, and we understand that. Everybody remembers, Staffordshire bull type terriers, pit bull type dogs, which dogs should wear muzzles. Very difficult to tell what kind of a dog is it specifically. Everybody remembers all of that. That's been going on for years and years. But in this instance, is it or is it not true? Because it certainly was, according to the animal behaviourist I spoke to on the programme earlier this week, whose first name was Stan, and they're going to give me the rest of his name so I can identify him, because I did interview him only on Monday, I think it was. And he said that these American Bully XL dogs are specifically specifically bred to be attack dogs. That's what they're for. They are kind of murdering machines. They are not suitable to be family pets. They are not suitable to be kept in ordinary homes. They're not suitable just to be on ordinary residential streets or in gardens or in homes in this country. His name is Stan Rawlinson, and he was my guest on Monday. Yeah. And he, too, is an adorer of dogs. He couldn't be more of a lover of dogs. That is his career. That is his profession. And he said, unfortunately, this particular breed is absolutely unsuitable as a pet and should be banned.
I don't think that there's any disagreement within the professional dog community that there are certain breeds that are significantly worse choices for pet homes, and I would definitely agree with him that the American XL Bully is on that list, along with Malinois, along with Huskies, along with working line German Shepherds. A lot of these dogs are big and powerful, and they don't make the best pets. They're a lot of hard work. They require so much training and so much socialization to be enjoyed, really, and to ensure that their welfare needs are met and their biological itches are scratched. However, that doesn't mean we should ban them. Firstly, because it's not effective. It's not an effective way. It's going to be whack-a-mole. What happened when we banned the pit bull? They just bred the Bully XL. What happens when we ban the Bully XL? There'll just be a long-haired version or a pointy-eared version or another version of a dog. There are thousands and thousands. There's more variation in dog breeds than there are in any other species on the planet. Like, we'll just breed a different version of it. Where there is demand, there will be supply.
All right, Jo, I'm going to stop you there because I have another guest sitting here and he wants to intervene, and I'm going to let him.
Well, hi. I just want to ask you, Jo. I mean, you're saying we can't ban it because for all these reasons, there'll be other breeds and so on. But we clearly have a problem here. Is it your position that we just have to accept dog deaths? We have to accept dogs killing people, completely innocent people, in their gardens and homes, just as a fact of life? Surely there must be something the government can do. So what is it?
So I think that one of the things we can do is put a cap on how much it costs to buy a dog. I think putting a cap so that dogs, I don't know, maybe we say £500. You're only allowed to breed dogs for £500, because part of the problem with these dogs is they go for a substantial amount of money, and there's a lot of inbreeding for these particular breeds, and that causes problems with aggression. We have massive breeding problem in this country when it comes to breeding dogs, and I think if we were to put a cap on how much dogs cost, I think that would make a huge difference, as well as import and export. So that only certain types of dog are able to. Secondly, I lived in Spain for 7 years, and in Spain we have a license for dogs over a certain weight. So if you want a dog over a certain weight, you have to show that you have the physical capacity to hold that dog by going to the doctor and having tests done, and you have to show that you have the hand-eye coordination to be able to respond if that dog was to react by doing specific psychometric testing. You then have to get the dog temperament tested, and you have to carry a muzzle on you, although you don't have to actually wear a muzzle, because there's been lots of studies that show that can make behaviour worse, and it would penalise a lot of people who have fantastic dogs. And in addition to that, I would put on regulations for training, so that if people want to buy one of these hugely beautiful, wonderful dogs who are incredible, fun to train, super fun to work with, amazing at sports and as working dogs, you can do, but you need to go about it the right way. You need to find a good breeder, and you need to socialise the dog, you need to train the dog. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having to apply for a licence for a big, powerful dog like that. And I do think that those sorts of regulations on owners and those sorts of much, much, much smarter legislation regarding breeding would solve the problem.
Thank you very much indeed, Jo.